Hey everyone, JCS Starcraft here with the game that I found that was pretty cool, that showcased kind of like the what Xur can really do with infestors and burrowing them and popping out those infested Terrans. So this game is between DaBoO as the red Xur and EvE as the blue Terran. EvE spawning at the 9 o'clock on Lost Temple, DaBoO spawning at the 6 o'clock. And tried looking up some information about EvE. It looked like he was pretty decently ranked on the European servers during beta phase 1. I think he was ranked about 40th in the Platinum League, or currently also known as the Diamond League. Them having a little bit of talk right here. Seems like EvE definitely has had a good amount of gameplay here. Some nice Xur action going on. Really enjoy that. And DaBoO, meanwhile, let's see, EvE thinking that he knows DaBoO. And here we go. The talk in the beginning. DaBoO is a 21-year-old from the Netherlands who is normally a full-time martial, oh, actually a personal trainer, but also a world champion martial artist. So, you know, definitely seeing some of that martial arts strategy being implemented here. So, you know, and if you lose to DaBoO, or you know, if you try to call him out on stuff, then, you know, he might be able to really kick your ass. It's not someone I want to mess with. But DaBoO recently, I think, is going to be part of the Serious Gaming clan in the Netherlands. Serious Gaming also recruiting Naniwa, who was the top-ranked Zotac Beta Cup player, having had won 3 of them. And so, and then another player, a Warcraft player going in, a Warcraft 3 player, is going to be Rotterdam. So Serious Gaming definitely looking like it's going to be a clan to contend with, and so DaBoO definitely going to be part of that, and, you know, really interesting to see the play here. So DaBoO going for that for the early gas, going to go for the spawning pool, not going to fast expand, and I think that this build, because of the number of infestors, and it looks like he's just gonna one base this for the moment. Needs a significant amount of gas. I think EvE's coming in here. You know, DaBoO maybe at this point, not having fully decided what he's going to do, has scouted the Terran player. Looks like EvE getting double gas, going to go 1-1-1, throw down the factory. Start part's going to come next. And EvE in here sees the double gas, no units. Speedling being researched, so the speed upgrade being researched, but potentially this could be looking like, without the expansion, a one base roach, you know, from DaBoO. So I think EvE going to start preparing for that accordingly. The Roach Warren does go down, and EvE does see that. So we'll see how EvE responds, and then how DaBoO kind of goes about maybe psyching out his opponent and figuring out how to, you know, where to go. So at this point, you know, I think DaBoO has the option of going one base roach, but might just be doing that for EvE's enjoyment and kind of throwing him off a little bit. But it should be interesting to see how an Infestor army will stack up against the tech of the powerful Terran tech. And let's see, upgrading, getting his hive and getting some units in. EvE having scouted, knowing that there, you know, weren't that many, that DaBoO didn't have that many units, gets his Hellion in, does some pretty nice micro here, and DaBoO has to be careful. He could lose all his Lings, and they're getting burned away. But this Hellion probably won't be able to do too much damage with that Queen in here, losing a good amount of hit points to the Lings. And, you know, DaBoO doing a good job just holding off that early Hellion pressure. DaBoO being able to scout and seeing that Hellion come out, so I don't think he's going to be able to get any kills right now. Let's go over to the income tab. It looks like DaBoO slightly ahead, and able to drive off that Hellion and push off that harass. So not too much damage lost. Did lose a few Lings, but you know, was able to get revenge on that Hellion. So EvE now going for his expansion, realizing that, you know, while the Roach Warren was there, DaBoO didn't really build, you know, wasn't really going roaches. So I think EvE at this point, not too sure what his opponent is up to. DaBoO has not scouted that starport, but you know, based on the fact that he's pumping out some queens right now, I think he suspects that EvE has gone 1-1-1, is going to be getting some banshees, getting harassed, and DaBoO now taking his expansion. So EvE, I think, getting ready, going with the Marauders, thinking that, you know, DaBoO's going to come at him with some roaches, and at this point, going to be able to get that Banshee in. Overseer coming in does see that he is indeed getting the getting that Banshee out. So DaBoO at this point does have multiple queens, should be able to hold off this Banshee, no problem. Yeah, should be able to hold him off, and forces that Banshee out for the time being. Meanwhile, EvE going to go for the Viking, and DaBoO throwing down that Contaminate, going to stop that Viking from coming out and give him a little bit longer to possibly reposition some of his overlords right now, because I think these guys will get picked off pretty easily by that Viking. They don't have speed. And meanwhile, DaBoO, having had thrown down his Infestor Pit, now has 3 Infestors out onto the field and is looking at the production tab, researching burrow for the Infestors, and we'll see whether or not he is going to get any upgrades. Research for his Infestors. EvE having moved that, DaBoO doing a great job here, throwing down the Infested Terrans. They can shoot into the air. They are pretty much some slow-moving Marines who look really, really awesome. Have probably one of my favorite animations in the game, but able to use his Infestors for some anti-air right now. So doesn't need to pull his queens off, and is able to take out that Banshee. So great play there by DaBoO. And looking at the units, DaBoO really only has 4 Infestors and 12 Lings on the field. So meanwhile, EvE has gone with the armory, does have the Thor, you know, has a handful of Marauders, probably going tanks at this point, does have his tanks coming out. So we'll see whether or not the Infestor Ling combo can hold up against the Terran Tech army going down right now. EvE throwing down more factories, and now doing his transfer, going to go try to saturate. And let's see what DaBoO can do with these Infestors here right now. Having thrown down the Evo Chambers, probably going to get some, definitely going to get some upgrades soon for his ground units, which will definitely help his Infested Terrans as well. Going to get attack +1 right now, and let's see if he is getting more mana, or is that called mana? I'm not entirely sure. Throwing down another hatchery. Getting a 3rd hatchery is to probably pump up his units. Looks like the EvE right now kind of picking off those overlords. But here we go. The Infested Terran's gonna fall down. Fungal Growth going down, gonna hold those in place while the Queens and Infested Terrans. Great combination there by DaBoO, holding down those Vikings while his slow-moving Infested Terrans shoot at them and